Denver, departure United 328 Heavy, Mayday aircraft just experienced engine failure, needed to turn immediately. Mayday, Mayday, United 328 Heavy, Mayday.
United Airlines Flight 328's engine exploded about 20 minutes after takeoff from Denver's airport.
You could just feel it, like boom, and you could hear it, and we started shaking. And we were right on the wing, so I looked out and I could see some smoke coming, and I just knew.
Obviously something wasn't right because the plane was vibrating like, hard, just constant, severe vibration.
Chunks of metal fell over homes in the U.S. city. Boeing has called on airlines to suspend use of 128 777 jets that use Pratt and Whitney engines.
This is the third incident involving a Pratt and Whitney PW4000 engine on a Boeing 777 in the last 3 years. There was one in December from Okinawa to Tokyo, Japan Airlines. That aircraft suffered a virtually an identical event. And then also United Airlines from San Francisco to Honolulu in February 2018, again, an identical event.
United Airlines has grounded 24 777s. The airline is the only one in the U.S. to fly the plane. Japan and South Korea are the only other countries where the older model jet is in use. Japan has since suspended 777 flights, and Korean Air has grounded 6 jets in operation. In the U.S., the Federal Aviation Administration has ordered extra inspections of the planes. An initial investigation into the Denver incident by the National Transportation Safety Board has found that the damage centered around the right engine and its fan blades.
It appears as though a fan blade has fractured and sheared off and has been ingested by the engine, causing the explosion and tearing the cowling, which is the shroud surrounding the engine, off, and that's what showered onto the ground. But look, very unusual event, but very scary. Fortunately, as I said, very rare.
The incident is yet another blow to Boeing. The U.S. plane maker had been trying to repair its damaged reputation after 2 737 MAX crashes led to the worldwide grounding of its top moneymaker. Natasha Hussain, TRT World.
Well, for more, let's go to aviation analyst Alex Macheras, who joins us now from London. Great to have you back with us, Alex. Now, those images of an engine burning mid-flight and that debris strewn across Colorado are really quite extraordinary. How unusual is it for an engine to catch fire like that? And are jets, in fact, designed to withstand that kind of damage?
Oscar, what we saw over the weekend was extraordinary footage, not least because all of this was captured on camera, both in the air and also on the ground. But the way in which we saw this engine break apart and suffer what was a very uncontained engine failure. Now, to be very specific, when an engine fails and that engine is shut down, the hopes and the design of the engine is all there with the intention that the engine failure itself remains contained. It means that if anything was to become loose inside of the engine casing, that's where it stays. The fear in the industry with an uncontained engine failure is that parts can ultimately leave the engine casing, perhaps rupture into the fuselage of the aircraft, or scatter as debris onto the ground. And we know exactly that happened with this United Airlines incident. Not only was this aircraft ultimately separating from various parts of the engine that then fell from the sky into suburbs, gardens, and driveways, which was just extraordinary. But also we know, and some clearer photos were released today, that part of the engine had ruptured into the fuselage just underneath the passenger cabin. This is huge, and the investigation, of course, is going to take some time. We are in very early days, but what we have seen, because there has been history with this engine, is this global grounding of the fleet. The UK this afternoon becoming the latest country to not only make sure that it has no operators flying to or from the country with these engines, but also banning any aircraft with these engines from even using British airspace. And we saw this in Japan yesterday, South Korea, and so on. There aren't many of these in service because of the pandemic, but this is still a concern for all stakeholders involved ultimately.
Can you give us an idea about how widely used these Pratt and Whitney engines are? Is it just Boeing who uses these engines, or does Airbus use them as well?
So Pratt and Whitney are one of the world's largest engine manufacturers, and they make a whole variety of different engines to fit different commercial aircraft. This specific engine, which is the PW4000, is almost tailor-made for the 777. And when an airline customer places an order for an aircraft, they have a choice. How are we going to power this jet? Are we going for Rolls-Royce, General Electric, Pratt and Whitney? And it depends on their needs. It depends on what they already have at their home bases, back at home, what they're used to maintaining. So although they offer very similar capabilities, it is up to the airline. Now, with this specific engine, it is only in use on commercial aircraft in the United States, South Korea, and Japan. That's a very small number of countries, and this is unlikely to have the big global impact that we saw, for example, with the 737 MAX that's only just beginning to take its first few flights since the long grounding. So it's not a huge impact, but those operators that that do have these in the active fleet, they've already taken that action to ground them until further notice.
Okay, Alex Macheras, we'll see how that investigation unfolds, but thank you again for giving us your analysis from London.